Hello and welcome to my channel where we talk about tips and tricks for teaching elementary music. Okay, here's today's video. So today I want to talk to all the elementary music teachers out there that want to be a cooperating teacher. So a cooperating teacher is the teacher that is there for people that are coming out of college and doing that final semester where they're doing their internship, where they're being a student teacher and they're coming in and actually teaching your students for several weeks in a row. Some colleges now call cooperating teachers clinical faculty. So whichever way you are labeled, if you decide you want to do this, it is a fantastic experience. I've done it for several years now, and I have learned from every single one of my student teachers. They have taught me new things along the way, and quite a few of my student teachers have been able to get placements, and one of them even went into elementary music. You will find that most of these college music education majors really want to do high school choir band orchestra. They want to be that ensemble director. But sometimes they will want to do elementary music from the get-go, and that's really exciting too. Okay, so the first thing I want to tell you is I always tell my student teachers when they come in, welcome to my lab, because that's kind of what my classroom is for them. They have all this knowledge. They will have all this musical knowledge where they can decipher any rhythm pattern and pitches and all of that, and even do Shankarian layer analysis and know things about Italian, French, and German chords and all of these things that I have long since forgot because I'm so far removed from my college experience. But some of them will not really know how to make that work with young children. And the experience that they have has been all ensemble since they were in about 6th or 7th grade. So even if they had elementary music as a student when they were younger, it has been a good 6 to 10 years since that has happened, and they really don't probably have much memory of what went on in there, and certainly not from a teaching perspective. So it becomes this whole new world to them, because if they were doing the secondary placement, right, it's very similar structure to college ensembles, but obviously at a different level because it would be high school or middle school. But it's the same structure with warm-ups and repertoire and score study and all of that. But elementary general music is just a totally different animal. So because of the fact that our license is pre-K through 12th grade, these students will not be with you an entire semester. They have to do 2 placements. So they will have to do at least half of their placement in a secondary placement, middle or high, and hopefully they get to do the other half in an elementary general setting. So you will probably only have your student teacher for 7 to 8 weeks at a time. Make sure when you're assigning them due dates for things like lesson plans that they need to turn into you, assign it to them a day or two before you have to turn it into your principal or before it has to be taught, whatever the scenario is. Because you need to have time to go through and look at their song choices, make sure they're age appropriate. You don't want them to be doing, say, the alphabet song with a 4th grade class, because as you know, as a music teacher yourself, your 4th graders are going to roll their eyes and not want to have anything to do with that. So make sure they're age appropriate, but also check those lyrics, because as you well know, if you've been teaching music for a while, that just because a song is in one of our school-bought curriculum books doesn't mean that it's good to be sung anymore, because times have changed and there just could be some things that are just not appropriate for children to be singing about anymore anyway. I always use the example of I Know an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly, which I used to sing as a child and that I taught in my beginning teaching years. But if you know that song at all, it says, I know an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. perhaps she'll die. And you repeat that perhaps she'll die all throughout the song. And at the end of the song, she does die, of course, because she ate a horse, of course. It's just not really an appropriate song, in my opinion, to be teaching with young children anymore. Also, any video choices that they choose for the class, make sure you take the time to look at that video. If you don't know this, there are so many fantastic videos out there for children. There's great children's dances on YouTube. There's videos about the orchestra. There's videos about tempo and all of these wonderful things that are great learning experiences for our students. But you still need to take the time as the cooperating teacher to check those videos out, make sure there's nothing inappropriate in them at all, so that you're not sitting there in the middle of the class and seeing it for the first time and something pops up that you're like, I don't know that I was shown that to this grade level or this school or whatever the scenario is. You know your children, you know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. Allow them the freedom to choose their songs. Your student teacher, allow them the freedom to choose the songs that they want to do. Allow them the freedom to choose their grade levels that they want to start teaching. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the order that I have my student teachers teach in. So when a student teacher comes to me, the first 2 days I let them observe, and they can ask as many questions as they want, and I will also stop in the middle of teaching sometimes and explain why I'm teaching something a certain way in the moment, so that the student teacher will understand things that they're seeing going on in the classroom. My students are very used to this. Like I said, I've had multiple student teachers, so it's nothing for me to stop in the middle of something and say, by the way, I don't know if you noticed how quickly they pick that up because we've been working on it for the last month, or whatever I want to tell the student teacher. By day 3, they are going to pick up a part of my anticipatory set. So in the fall, my anticipatory set, I have in there rhythm reading, where we have just 4-beat rhythm cards, and we're going through and we're reading them as a class, every single class time. In the spring semester, which starts here for me in a week or 2, we do solfege as my focus in that anticipatory set. So whichever one of those that it is, rhythm reading or solfege, I will have the student teacher on day 3 pick that up and teach that section of the lesson to every single grade level that comes in. It gives them a chance to get up in front of the students, have this little 2 to 5 minute little interaction with them, get a little comfortable, and they didn't have to write any lesson plans for it, and it just gets their feet wet. So on the second week of their placement, they get to choose one grade level that they're going to teach all week long. So let's say they choose 2nd grade. So in addition to teaching 2nd grade all day long, or all week long, they are also going to be continuing that solfege or rhythm reading process with all of the other classes. So they are teaching a little bit every single time the classes come in, and they're teaching full lessons to that one grade level that they chose. During week 3, they have to teach 3 grade levels. So at this point, they can choose the other 2 grade levels, but my only requirement is if they chose 2nd grade as their 1st grade level, they can't do 2nd, 1st, and K. They have to at least pick up 3rd, 4th, or 5th, at least one of those. So in other words, they can do 2 primaries and 1 intermediate, or vice versa, but I don't want them just do the bottom half or the top half of the grade levels. I want them to have that experience of being able to see what the different levels of these students are, maturity-wise and cognitive development and all of that. So in week 4, they will teach all of my classes. So I go a lot faster than a teacher that's going to have the student teacher for a whole semester for 16 weeks. They usually do not have them teach every single subject by the 4th week of school. But the reason I do is I only have these student teachers for 7 to 8 weeks. So I want them to have a solid 3 to 4 week experience of learning what it's like to carry a full load, multiple grade levels, multiple classes, different schedule every day as far as where is your planning time that day, and who's coming in and all of that, because it really will give them the full picture. Well, maybe not the full picture, but it will give them a good idea of what it's like to be an elementary music teacher in case they are considering doing that at some point in their career. Don't be afraid to walk away. Now, I'm sure your districts have requirements for you to be with them pretty much all the time with the student teacher, because they are not an employee of your district, and they're not a substitute teacher, so they don't have those credentials. So you do have to be with them the majority of the time, but you also need to give them those few minutes here or there where they can see what it's like to not have the cooperating teacher in the room, okay? And where they can kind of feel the shift of the energy when the students are like, oh, you're in charge. Well, let's see what's gonna happen now. So what I usually do the first time I'll walk away is I'll just step outside the door and close the door and just kind of be out there and kind of be listening and just see, does it feel like things are still kind of going, or did the classroom erupt, or, you know, are we okay? And then every once in a while I'll run and make a copy, or I'll, you know, run to the bathroom or whatever. Just give, you know, a few minutes here and there so that you have that. But for the most part, you're gonna have to stay in that room. So what I do is I shift my focus away. So I have my desk in the room, of course, and I will do a lot of computer work. As you well know, we can always find computer work to do. Whether it's writing future lesson plans, whether it's even cleaning out your email, whatever. There's always computer work that you can find to do that's school related. And now's the time to do it while you have a student teacher. And I will focus on that. So I'm still in the room. And then when the students come up to me, I'm like, I'm not your teacher, go ask so-and-so. And I purposely do it so that I have a double monitor kind of blocking me as well, so that it makes it, yeah, the kids know I'm there, but they kind of forget I'm there, and they will focus more on the other teacher, and the teacher feels like, okay, she's still there for support if I need something, and they know they can ask me a question. It's not like I'm doing super intense work that I can't be interrupted, but it's their chance to really just fly on their own as much as they can without you walking out for a full lesson, because you're really not allowed to do that. So let's talk about feedback. So depending on the college or university that the student comes from, they may have feedback forms that you have to fill out. It might be a lot of stuff, it might be a little stuff. They may not have anything specific that you have to do. So as long as you're giving feedback, that's constructive, of course. So whenever my student teachers start teaching a new thing, I will pay very close attention to what they're doing so that I can give them feedback about that new thing. And then the second time they do that new thing, I'll watch them again for sure to see if they fixed anything that I gave them a note on. And if they did, then I probably won't watch that thing the third time. But if they still haven't fixed it, I'll keep watching, whatever the scenario is. Like, for example, I have a smart board in my classroom, and I had a student teacher once, I remember, was standing in such a way that their back was to the classroom, and they were facing the smart board and they were pointing to the words on the smart board for the students to follow along, but they were facing the board, not facing the students. And I'd tell the student teacher, you need to cheat, out so that your focus really is on the students, and, you're only half paying attention to what you're pointing on the smart board, really, which is, in the older grades, of course, they do score study. We really have to know what we're teaching. We got to get those words in our heads. They don't have to be fully memorized, but they need to be mostly okay in your head so that you're not staring at the words, so that you can watch all the things that are going on in your classroom while you're teaching that particular song. And just in your feedback, back off as corrections are made. If the student teacher asks you, hey, how did I do? How was that lesson? Do you think that, if the student teacher wants feedback, how do you think that dance went? Do you think the kids got that instrument part? Do you think I need to change that? Go for it. Give them the feedback. But if you feel like they've corrected everything that you think they need to correct, just back off and let them do it. let them take over. And even if, so I have a structure, I'm sure a lot of you guys do, a lesson structure where I teach my lessons in a certain order of activities. I've had student teachers that will change that activity order around. I'm okay with that, because just because I do it one way doesn't mean it's the right way. But sometimes they will change it around, and then they'll be like, oh, I think I'm going to change it back to your way better because I see why you did it this way, right? There's no one way to do things. So it's okay if they want to change that around. It's okay if they want to make up their own instrumentation for something. And here's where I let them really kind of do what they want to do on this. So imagine, if you will, a college age person who's just been doing all this complex music in their ensembles and in their applied lessons, coming down and trying to make something that's kindergarten appropriate, right? For a rhythm pattern or for a bell part or whatever they're using. Sometimes they can do it, right? Sometimes they can do it a little and then not so much and whatever. And sometimes they're just really like, yeah. And sometimes I will let the student teacher just go for it and just go ahead and do that instrument part that they wrote for that class. And I know it's gonna fall apart and my kids are gonna be lost, but the student teacher kind of has to see that, okay? Because sometimes that's the way that they learn best. So I'm not always really picky with their instrumentation parts that they write, because I want them to experience, how do I arrange for this grade level on this particular instrument. And sometimes, I gotta be honest, student teachers have shown me, oh wow, my kids were able to play that part that I didn't think they were gonna be able to play. So I do learn from my student teachers all along the way. So my last point that I want to make to you, if you're considering being a cooperating teacher, it's a fantastic experience. It really is. You will learn from your student teacher. Your students will get new ideas. Your actual school students will get new ideas too, and new energy in the room and all of that. I will say, once the student teacher has left to go to their next placement, or it's just the end of their semester, you will have to rein your kids back in, because now you are teaching again and they haven't really had you teach them for 4 to 5 weeks. And they're like, who are you again? And oh, wait a minute, so-and-so did it this way. Oh, can we do that thing that they did? That was such a fun game that they did. And you're like, yeah, no, I'm back and that's not my thing and I'm not gonna do that. So you do have to kind of, take a week or so to kind of get them back in, okay, I'm your teacher, this is how we do things, and all of that. But it's still a fantastic experience. All right, that's all I have to say about being a cooperating teacher in elementary music. I hope you learned some things from this, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. And don't forget to subscribe. Have a wonderful day.